When entering a market as massive and dynamic as India, most enterprises deploy 100% of their capital, talent, and energy into entry blueprints. They obsess over localized marketing, scaling sales channels, and expediting BIS certifications. This is a natural instinct. However, let us address a cold, critical question that cross-border investors rarely ask. Do you have a bulletproof framework to safely liquidate assets, protect your executive talent from legal liability, and repatriate remaining capital if global macroeconomic downturns or geopolitical shifts occur? The most sophisticated institutional investors and Fortune 500 multinationals do not examine revenue projections. First, when entering a new jurisdiction, their primary compliance check is the exit strategy, a granular playbook outlining how to mitigate corporate risk during a worst-case scenario. Today, we will dissect the India Corporate Liquidation and Risk Mitigation Guide. Mastering the exit gate is the only way to genuinely dominate the entry market. Many international executives face extreme frustration during corporate dissolution. Under the current administration, setting up a subsidiary through the Registrar of Companies, Rock Digital Network takes less than 2 months. The government made entry incredibly seamless to attract foreign direct investment. However, transitioning into formal voluntary liquidation exposes you to an entirely different timeline. The process can span from 12 to 36 months. This prolonged duration is not a sign of administrative incompetence or bureaucratic laziness. It is exactly the opposite. India runs one of the most rigorous, sophisticated legal and tax compliance frameworks globally to prevent capital flight, base erosion, and tax evasion. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs and the Income Tax Department must verify that all local corporate liabilities are settled, employee severance disputes are fully resolved, and every single rupee of domestic tax obligation is met before granting clearance. Failing to understand this structural timeline results in bleeding tens of thousands of dollars monthly on localized overhead and legal fees. Comprehensive system intelligence is your first line of defense. The most destabilizing phase for international businesses during exit is the post-closing tax audit, conducted by the Income Tax Department. A corporate closure triggers immediate, hyper-focused scrutiny. Tax authorities will audit the past 3 to 5 years of financial ledgers, bank transactions, and corporate invoices with absolute precision. As highlighted previously, India's Goods and Services Tax (GST) network is powered by advanced, real-time AI transaction tracking. This digital audit engine retroactively cross-checks every single financial movement. During this audit, authorities ruthlessly target 3 primary exposures. First, transfer pricing exposure. Intercompany transactions between the global HQ and the Indian subsidiary, such as raw materials or inventory, pricing are cross-examined against strict arm's-length principles. If authorities suspect profit shifting to evade local corporate tax, they will impose staggering punitive tax assessments. Second, deficient expense documentation. Auditors thoroughly inspect corporate expenditures for missing statutory GST invoices or ambiguous business justifications. Any unvetted transactions are instantly reclassified as undocumented, taxable corporate revenue, and added to the final tax liability. Third, poor bookkeeping by low-cost local vendors. Many mid-market enterprises cut costs by outsourcing accounting to subpar local agencies. The accounting gaps and compliance errors these agencies overlook routinely implode under the pressure of a formal government audit. Over 90% of liquidation delays are not caused by regulatory tyranny. They are the direct consequence of poor compliance packaging by the enterprise itself. Conversely, transparent corporations maintaining institutional-grade auditing paths these inspections effortlessly. To confidently scale your business in India, you must convert these regulatory barriers into your competitive moat. Here are the 3 non-negotiable exit strategies every global enterprise must enforce. First, execute annual virtual liquidation simulations. Even during phases of exponential growth, dedicate 1 cycle during the annual fiscal closing to cross-check your tax and legal framework. Retain top-tier global legal counsel to audit your ledgers, as if you were winding up operations that very day. Resolving documentation gaps and fixing missing invoices in real time is 100 times more cost-effective than attempting a frantic cleanup right before a formal exit. Second, maintain eligibility for the fast-track exit FTE framework. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs offers an expedited pathway for dormant subsidiaries with zero assets, zero liabilities, and absolutely no commercial operations, or banking transactions for over 12 consecutive months. The government bypasses formal liquidation and cancels the corporate registration within months. If a market exit becomes strategic, systematically settle all liabilities early to transition the subsidiary into an unblemished, dormant asset class, eligible for the FTE program. Third, deploy an asset-light operational model, incurring massive upfront capital expenditure to purchase industrial real estate or injecting heavy manufacturing machinery directly onto your balance sheet during initial market entry is highly risky. For the first 24 to 36 months, utilize long-term infrastructure leasing or leverage contract manufacturing. Protocols such as OEM models with vetted local partners, keeping your local balance sheet light grants you immense tactical agility to pivot your business model and drastically narrows the scope of corporate tax audits. During an eventual liquidation, when executives enter a theater knowing exactly where the emergency exits are and how they operate, they do not watch the film in fear. They engage with complete focus, confidence, and peace of mind. Cross-border business follows the exact same principle. Enterprises that establish rigorous, risk-free exit strategies and corporate liquidation protocols are never intimidated by regulatory shifts or market volatility. While underprepared competitors hesitate and pull back, a compliant corporation can aggressively deploy capital, execute rapid expansions, and dominate the consumer market. India's strict corporate and tax frameworks act as an ultimate filter, eliminating fragile competitors. For transparent, compliance-driven corporations, India remains an unprecedented, secure land of global opportunity.